Hi,
Hi, I'm Landon,
I'm Mark.
and I had the great chance of going to a Nikon Z9 demo. Uh, so,
Without me, some of us had to work.
Sorry, yeah, and he also had to watch his doggies.
Yeah.
So, I drove up to LA, me and my girlfriend, and we went to the Z9 demo in Torrance, California, and we got to go check out the Z9. There was a whole presentation about it from Mike Corrado.
Just, just kidding. This is not it.
This is the Z6, yeah.
Mark 1.
So there was Mike Corrado there, Christy Odom, let's see, I have a list, Jeff Mitchell, and there was also a presentation by Brian Scarry from Nat Geo, National Geographic. So in this video, we're going to walk through kind of what the presentation was like, what I could do and what I couldn't do with the camera, also my thoughts when I was holding the camera and trying it out, and I'll also talk about what the lenses I used with it. And I also got some video, thanks, big shout out to my girlfriend for getting those videos for me. For this channel so that you guys could see what the back of the camera looks like, what it's doing, and also get a closer look at the body and what it kind of looks like in my hands.
Okay, also, before we get started, we're going to another of the same event closer to home this coming week. So and I actually get to go to that one, so awesome. so if you have any questions or things you want us to kind of like test out on the camera or little features you want us to explore, since there's not enough information on the internet already about it, we'll write down in the comments your specific questions, and we'll try to make a list of everything and test out everything at the event and get footage of it also.
On to the Z9 demo. In the beginning, Mike Corrado was there. I'm sure if you follow Nikon, you must know of Mike Corrado. So anyway, he gave a presentation. He's a big birder. So one of the things that he really talked about was birder. He talked a lot in his presentation about the autofocus and basically the power of the camera with the new stacked CMOS sensor and the new X-Speed 7 processor. And I gotta tell you, watching his presentation, most of it I didn't see online before. You know, there are tidbits that I've seen from Nikon here and there. I did get some iPhone footage of it, so maybe I'll throw this in the video just so you can see what he was talking about.
You want to see that again? 1 second of shooting.
After all that, I got my chance to demo the camera, and so here are my thoughts. Basically, I don't know if you might be able to tell in the video, but my hands were a little shaky because I was pretty nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know. I was talking to the guys before. I was talking to Jeff Mitchell, and he said I can do anything I want with the camera as long as I don't take out the memory card, and I can't, with that, I can't put in my own memory card because it still is on pre-production firmware. So it wasn't the final production firmware at all. The body was final, as far as I know, that was final. It was just the firmware that might have some tweaks and stuff, and I was talking to somebody else who was demoing it, and he said he found a bug in one of the other bodies that was there of the Z9.
It's like the holy grail.
Right.
Finding a bug right at the event, be like, fix this today.
Number one, I really like how tactile the body feels. So let me see your body real quick. I really liked how tactile the body felt. It felt a lot better than the Z6 and the Z7 and even the Mark IIs, because there's not much difference in the Mark IIs compared to the body. I thought the grip was a lot grippier. It had a much better feel rubber on it.
Like, does it feel deeper, the crevices?
The crevices, it felt about...
Like the stippling type of thing?
Yeah, I'm talking about like the stippling, like the rubber on it, the actual rubber. I think it felt a little bit better. It didn't feel... Now, holding these ones, I don't want to say... They feel a little less... These ones feel more consumer focused after feeling the Z9.
Because these are definitely smoother. Like, even compared to the older DSLRs, like that stuff we used to use, what was it, D750 that we used to use? Mm-hmm. That had a good rubber grip on the side, but these definitely feel like smoother, kind of just rubberized texture. Not really... You can't really feel the rubber squishiness, I guess.
Yeah, and going back to what Mark was saying about the crevices of the Z9, it did feel... I don't know if it felt deeper, but it felt a little chunkier, a little more sturdy in your hands. And I don't know if that has to do with having that integrated vertical grip, because this one, sometimes your pinky just kind of hangs off of it a little bit. That's what I mean when I say it felt more tactile. And also with that, the dials, so this main command dial and this front command dial, they're all rubber. So they have they're rubberized and they're inset in the body, unlike this one is on the top. And so those ones felt a lot better. These ones actually feel like I keep going back to that consumer feel, but these feel more like they're geared towards, your maybe pro-consumer level.
Prosumer.
Yeah. And so these dials are plastic. This one is metal on top, but the Z9 ones, they just feel so grippy. They felt really good, and they just flowed really nicely when you're moving it really quickly with your thumb and your index finger. It just felt good. A lot better, a lot less likely, like if I were sweaty, for my hands to slip. One of the things that I really noticed as soon as I turned on the camera, the UI was so responsive. So even moving the autofocus point around on the screen with the joystick, it just zipped across the screen, and it had that wraparound setting on, and so it just kept going around and around, and it was really fast. I was just impressed. Now, I always felt like there was a little bit of a lag with the Mark IIs and the Gen 1s, and now, after trying the Z9, feels like there's no lag. It feels like there's a direct translation between my movements on the joystick and the AF point, And that goes with everything in the menu system. As soon as you hit the menu button, moving between all the different menu settings on the camera, it was just so zippy, so fast. I was really blown away. And then so the main autofocus setting that I kept it on was the 3D tracking, because that was the one that I was really focused on, the one that I'm most excited for. I've never used 3D tracking before. It was better than I expected. If you're coming from a flagship DSLR, you kind of know what 3D tracking is about. But in the Z9, I'd say it's a whole different experience. You put the AF dot on the subject that you want, hold down the AF button, and it just tracks that subject. And even if it's a body or animal or something that it's capable of recognizing, it's going to go to the smallest box, the smallest priority focus area first. And so in this case, there was a dancer there. She was a subject, so I was just trying to focus on her the whole time. And I set the AF button on her body, mostly on her torso, upper neck area, and it went there, and then it found her eye almost immediately, and it went exactly where I wanted it to go. So that gives me a lot of...
You have to hold the autofocus button down the whole time?
Yeah, I did have to hold the autofocus button down the whole time, and that's just, if you're familiar with back button focusing, that's a lot what it feels like. Even when you're using subject tracking in these models, I use back button focus to lock down the subject tracking and to track my subjects for those. So I was talking to Jeff Mitchell there. He was the Nikon rep who was, helping me out with the camera. I was asking him about recording to both card slots, and he also mentioned that you can record stills to one card slot and video to the second card slot. I did reach out after the fact because I wanted to see if you can record video redundantly to both cards on the Z9. I'm still waiting for him to get back to me on that, so we'll see. I'll let you know in the next video if he does get back to me before then. So the Viewfinder Eye Cup, it's different than on these models. So it's more of that pro flagship model like the D6, D5, where it has that circle. So these ones are like kind of squishy.
There's like it makes a shape, right? It has the outline of it, and then the inside is obviously hollow, filled with air.
Yeah.
But like the Z9 cup, you said is the full rubberized piece, so it's just solid rubber.
It's not hollowed out like these ones are. These ones are just a shell. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, these ones are just a shell, and the other one is more just a solid piece of rubber, which felt a lot better. I was careful. I've done this all the time.
I know, but I don't do that on mine.
I was never really happy with the eye cup experience on these cameras, just because I felt that it was always squishy, so I took mine off and I just never used them again. But I think I'm really happy with how the Z9 eye cup feels. I know that's really exciting. Everybody's curious on how the eye cup feels, but that's one of the things that I noticed. When I was demoing the Z9, I got to try it on my lens, my 50mm 1.2Z S-line lens. And I just love that lens, and the experience with it on the Z9 was almost second to none. It didn't have any issues keeping up with the eyes, and I shot at 1.2, It didn't have any issues keeping up with the model as she was turning, as she was dancing, doing her moves and everything like that. I will say that, you know what, maybe I could have kept a faster shutter on, but I wasn't really paying attention to my settings. I was a little bit nervous and I was mostly focusing on how it felt.
And not dropping the camera.
Yeah, not dropping it. That's not to say it's not heavy. It's not very thick, the Z9. It's just, I would say, heavy duty. And if you have a 50mm 1.2, or if you used that lens before, you know how chunky and heavy that lens can be. But I would say, I think with the Z9, I was holding it for, I don't know, maybe like 6 minutes, and it felt really good in the hands. And I think part of that has to do with the body of the Z9. There's just so much more grip with the Z9 that it felt like I had a ton of leverage to just manipulate that lens with my wrist and throw it wherever I wanted to. And that's, I can't say I have that same experience with the Z6 and Z7 because you're missing that vertical grip and you just don't have that landscape or that area for your hand to latch onto on these bodies. So yes, it is nice having a small body like the Z6, but it's also nice, I get why people want that integrated vertical grip. Since I did bring my own lens, I got to see the sensor shield. So I was able to take off the lens. I'm not gonna take yours off, but I was able to take off the lens on the Z9.
Thank you. God.
And you're gonna get to see in this video that we took, you're gonna get to see the sensor and you're gonna get to see the sensor shield come up. I shot this all in 60p. Some of it will be exported in 24, but I'm gonna slow down some areas for you to see it in 60p. So just so you can see more of a slow motion and kind of see exactly what's happening, you know, just
The blades.
that was one of the things that really surprised me. It felt, we all know as Nikon users, we know how nice it is to flick the on and off switch button on these cameras. And it feels like as soon as, it was just so fast, like split second, as soon as I was moving the dial to turn off the camera, the sensor shield just shot right up. Almost the same experience turning it on. I'm not gonna say it was instantaneous, but it was darn near close to being instant. I was a lot faster than the Z6 and Z7 and even the Mark IIs in booting up and getting ready to shoot, which I turn my cameras off a lot during a wedding day. I guess just out of practicality, I like to turn it off, save some battery. And having almost no downtime during the boot up process is, I gotta say, it's so nice. And it really makes me feel confident about what this camera can do.
It's the little things.
It is. It's all the little things. You know, all those little paper cuts that we felt over the years and things like that. Death by 1,000 cuts. With the Z9, I feel like Nikon has ameliorated all of that, or most of that for some of us, you know? Now that brings me to some of the things that I didn't quite like, and this was just from a first experience. You know, so these are things that can change over time as I adapt to using the Z9 when my body comes in. Right off the bat and off the back of the screen, it felt like the screen was the same size as the Z6 and Z7 II, and just having the same size screen on the Z9 body, it just made it feel smaller. So, you know, like when you make the body bigger, the screen size stays the same, it almost feels like the screen size is shrinking on it. So that's kind of how it felt, but I didn't have any issues using it while I was shooting the model. It still felt like it was good to use. It would just be nice to have it be a little bit bigger. Another thing is that I know you guys have seen is the playback button is in a different spot. So the playback button on these cameras is right here at the top left, and now they moved it down to somewhere around here on the Z9. And just in the 6 minutes that I got to use the camera, my brain wasn't switching over to where that button placement was. So I feel like that's something that's going to change over time, but it does take an adjustment.
Yeah, you'll get used to that. But then everybody who's coming from like the bigger DSLR bodies is already used to the play button being on that side.
Yeah.
So, because then if you're holding the lens with one hand and you're just checking footage or whatever. Thank you. If you're just checking footage or whatever, you don't have to take your hand off the lens to help balance the camera, and it just makes it easier to hold. But I do the play button function thing on the lens, so that's what I'd use, but I know you don't like that.
And that's another thing. I didn't get to try the function buttons on the side. So there's that function 1, 2, 3, and then they also have a function 4 on the back. I didn't get to try those because there was a lot running through my mind in this next video that we do, in this next demo that we do. I'm going to try and see if I can feel those out because it is a different placement than the Z6 and Z7. So that's going to be another adjustment for me.
That won't take long. You'll get used to it. No big deal.
Next, I did think that having the exposure compensation button where it is on the Z9, I had to get used to that. And there were a few times where I mistook that for the ISO button. So, you know, I was pressing that exposure compensation button and moving the back dial. That's because they moved the exposure compensation button closer to the ISO button. So it's more on this back, on the back of the, right behind the shutter button. And, you know, that's another thing that I think I will get used to over time. But, you know, during the demo, my mind wasn't working right. Also, with the button placement, I didn't think the vertical grip buttons weren't in the exact same place as they are in the horizontal mode. And on the vertical axis, the eye menu is slightly off of the joystick. And so just having that slight little difference is something that I'm going to have to get used to. But I just wanted to add it to the list of things that I wasn't quite sure about, things that I might not like exactly, but things that I feel like I need to mention in this video.
Well, that's enough to like throw the whole camera out. Forget it. We'll wait till the next model. I'm excited to try it. I think it'll be fun. I've never really used a vertical grip one before, so it'll be interesting to see what that's like. I think I'll like it. But I do a lot of videos, so I'm not gonna use it that much, but we'll see. I'm hoping that you said you got to try the 105 millimeter lens, the macro one.
Yeah, the 105 macro.
So I'm hoping they have that one there too, because I want to try some stuff. Can we bring stuff, like little things to? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I might bring some stuff. Yeah. Anyway, but I'm excited to see what it's like, what it feels like in the hands. I'm hoping they have the 14 to 24 millimeter lens too, because I want to try that one. Mm-hmm. I actually want to try that one on filming close-up faces to see how much of the background you can get.
Oh yeah.
And like how much much warping you get, because I would like to use that one for video, but I don't know if I want to get that one, because they're also coming out with the 85 1.2, because I want to get that one for close-ups for video especially, but I also want to test out the 14.
Yeah.
So what better way to test it out on a Z9?
Anyway, that's it for this video. We are going to another demo this week. So you're going to see this video on Monday morning, and we are going to the next demo on Wednesday in the evening. So that is Wednesday the 8th. And if you have any questions, throw it in the comments for us. We will try our very best to get some footage of it and try and demo that at the Z9 demo. And then we'll post another video updating all of this for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Even like the small quirky stuff that you're curious about, because that's the kind of stuff that hasn't been covered in videos at all or hasn't really been seen that much. So yeah, let us know your questions. And
thanks for watching, and thank you to all our new subscribers. Make sure if you
made it to 100.
Yeah, so thank you. If
in
you
like
haven't
a week.
So if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and thank you. We'll see you in the next one. Hopefully it's very soon.
Bye.
Bye.
You think that's intimidating? Like having the Nikon rep just like looking over your shoulder? You're using the camera wrong. That's the wrong setting.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, do they just follow you around? Be like,
yeah, they do.
There's a tiger over there. Careful.